Warhammer 40k Boltgun, released May of 2023, retailing for $21.99 and available on all modern platforms. Boltgun is a first-person shooter, but it is a throwback first-person shooter more in the style of Doom or Quake as opposed to more modern first-person shooters. What is generally referred to as a boomer shooter. So you will go through levels, shooting lots of things, finding keys for doors, and in general, looking for the exit. Although you can't simply look for the keys and exit, as there are times when it forces you into a situation where you have to empty out a room before you can progress. As this is a Warhammer game, you are given an order that you must purge the heresy. Of course, if you're unfamiliar with Warhammer, that probably doesn't mean much to you. Just imagine that Dune had a very edgy but not terribly original little brother. And without going into too much detail, that's pretty much all Warhammer 40k is. But anyway, you play as a Space Marine from the Imperium of Man. Which particular chapter of Space Marine? Why, Ultramarine, of course. What else could it possibly be? So you're big, blue, generic, and probably great at doing paperwork. You're also apparently the only one of your squad that survived planetfall. So you're in a situation where it is literally you versus an entire planet of chaos forces. Which particular variety of chaos? It seems to be some kind of Chaos United force, as you see demons representative of more than one kind of chaos, so that's what I'm forced to assume anyway. The Chaos Space Marines you encounter kind of look like Black Legion, but it's a little hard to tell with this sort of retro sprite style they're going for. But that's not a complaint about the style of the game. I actually very much like the 2D artwork that's used throughout. It does legitimately give off the feeling of this being some lost game from the mid-90s. It also uses this style to great effect. Like later in the game when you start seeing this pink stuff. This is, I think, meant to represent energies of the warp leaking into normal reality. And you encounter more of this as you go deeper into the game. And it gives the impression of having something there that you can see but not fully perceive. And it's a rather interesting and quite nice looking effect for the game. The game itself is not an overly hard or long affair. You will end up with quite the arsenal of Warhammer 40k weapons by the end of the game, and unless you're playing on the highest difficulty setting, you'll never want for ammo, as there is ammo pickups everywhere in this game. But is Warhammer 40k Boltgun worth your time and money? It is certainly not a very deep game, but a very enjoyable game, clocking in at about 10 hours, which is standard for a game of its kind. But honestly, I think you're being overcharged at $22 for this game, as you could go and get the modern ports of Doom, Doom 2, and Doom 64, and still be $7 cheaper than what you're paying for Boltgun. Or you could get Quake 1 and 2, and you'd still be $2 cheaper than Boltgun. In either case, the only thing you'd really be missing out on are the superficial touches of the Warhammer 40k franchise. And honestly, you're probably in for a better experience without them. But then again, none of those other games have a dedicated taunt button. Please do subscribe, comment, like, and tell your friends.